Welcome to Channel Remake, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side, so once we all the updates and news, be the first one getting all the insight. Now, following on with the new expansions for the employment sponsor visa subclass 482 towards pathway to permanent residency, obviously, getting a lot of inquiries in regards to how to actually get an employment sponsor. So in this video, we're gonna discuss how you can actually get employer sponsor. Now, first of all, you probably don't know, if you don't know about the structure of the actual subclass 482 visa, I'm gonna go through a little bit about it, and then obviously then you will know your eligibility and how you can actually identify an employer, possible employer, and to perhaps sponsor you. And by the end of this video, I'll talk about with my experiences in Australia how you can actually approach an Australian employer for potential job opportunity there. So first of all, let's jump into the actual visa. That is the subclass 482, as you will know about in this topic. So the full name is Temporary Skills Shortage Visa subclass 482. Now, I've specifically choose the medium-term stream, avoiding the short-term stream, because on the 25th of November, short-term stream and medium-term stream will be the same anyway. So, basically, it can get you years of work visas, work permits in Australia, and within working for 2 years, obviously full-time, then you can actually access to the TRT stream. That means pathway to become a permanent resident in Australia. So let's have a look at the jumping to the eligibility there and have a look at this one. So currently there's no age limit for the visa applicant, but there will be an age limit when you wanted to transfer into a permanent resident, unless with the policy announced last Friday, unless you're a regional medical practitioner or you're a high income earner. Now, the definition of high income has not been published yet, so we'll see until the 25th of November then. Okay, you need to hold appropriate visa. Obviously, you need to have a substantive visa that's a normal visa that included a visitor visa, or you hold a bridging visa A or bridging visa B or bridging visa C. So the person that probably cannot apply anything is you don't even hold a visa. That means you are unlawful. So that's not quite an instance there in the normal circumstances. Have complied with the previous visa condition. Obviously, you have been a good visa holder, a good citizen, or good person. You haven't breached anything. If you breach visa condition, it's likely that your visa would have been cancelled already, and you need to be nominated by an approved sponsor. So I'm going to go through that one in the next web page, that the eligibility for the business sponsor. Work for your nominating employer. That's pretty sure. You don't work for someone else while you've been nominated for the other employer. It's just doesn't make any sense. Okay, and the sponsor can be an Australian business sponsor. That's pretty obvious. It can be an overseas business sponsor if you're nominated occupation and in the business only, not an associated entity. This is usually a large international corporation, so you cannot just talk to your neighborhood who owns a business or restaurant next door to your home country, whichever the country that you're in, and say, oh, can you sponsor me to go to Australia? That's not gonna work. It's usually a large international entity which has set up a branch in Australia. So by technically it does still have an Australian business number there, in order to actually sponsor you. So that's basically what it meant. So it's unusual for a general purpose, but it can be happening there. You have the relevant skill, qualification, and employment background. So what does that mean? That means if you're a sponsor as, for example, a sales and marketing manager, then obviously you should hold those qualification and background there. If you're IT professional, you don't get sponsored as an accountant. And if you're an engineer, you don't get sponsored as a medical practitioner. So you know where I'm coming from. So it's pretty generic and easy understanding. Have work in a nominated occupation. Now I'm gonna speak a little bit about this one. So it says you need to have at least 2 years of relevant work experience, and these work experiences is not required under what the skill assessment requires. It's different. Okay, it's what I'm trying to say. It's different because it says generally you should have gained your work experience in the last 5 years, and other ways you can demonstrate a work experience could include whilst you were studying master or PhD in relevant occupation, or while studying through formal arrangement. And these formal arrangement can be part of the CRICOS registered course. Okay, so for instance, if you're a studying engineering course, generally there will be internship, or architect, there will be internship in there, so that can be counted as well. Now, some of the occupation require, or passport holders require to go through skill assessment. For example, if you're holding a Chinese passport, Indian passport, I think Pakistan as well, there are numbers of passport holders required to go through positive skill assessment if your qualification, skill, experiences were accrued not in Australia. So for example, if you're Indian passport holders and you have studied and your work experience was accrued in Australia, then obviously you don't need to worry about this. But if you're currently in India and you're a very experienced chef in India, and all the qualification and work experiences were accrued in India, unfortunately, you're required to go through skill assessment. That's the current. Now, I'm not too sure how the arrangement on the 25th of November onwards, but that's currently what it is at this point in time. You need to get health insurance, so make sure, because just to ensure that when you get injured, there's insurance covered, and you meet other visa criteria. There is a level English required, which is a minimum standard. I think that's 5.5 or somewhere there. It's not too hard, but when you wanted to transfer pathway to become a permanent resident, you need to have a company English that's equivalent to IELTS 6 across 4 bands. Now let's jump into the sponsor side. So obviously, sponsor doesn't need a visa. It's an Australian citizen or Australian company already in Australia, but you need to approach them, right? Or they approach you, either vice versa. So once they're happy to sponsor you, the immigration requires to check on the sponsors as well, whether they hold the right registration or they are legitimately trading in Australia. So it's not too hard to understand it. They need to apply to become a standard business sponsor. There's a standard procedure, not too hard. Basically, throwing all the company registration and also the financial tax documents. Now, as long as they are, a good sponsor, that means they are not making major loss. Okay, nominated work and eligible occupation. What does that mean? That means, accountancy nominating an accountant or tax agent, a restaurant nominating a chef or cook, right? Okay, be unable to find Australian worker. Now, this, interestingly, as you can see, labor market testing is still there. Is what they have said on migration review report. They're gonna remove that. Certainly they haven't. I don't know if this will still be there on the 25th of November, but we'll see there. Okay, pay annual market salary, so that's 70,000, as you know, and genuine possible position. Now, I'm gonna talk more about how you can actually find a sponsor. Now, a very generic way is that people will go to Seek Seek.com. This is what it looks like. It's the largest employment job seeking website in Australia. So basically, you go to Seek.com, you punch in whatever the occupation that you're looking for, classification, and where. So you can actually put in Sydney, Melbourne, Geelong, Darwin, Adelaide, whichever the city or location, the county that you wanted to go for, and you can find job there. But once you find the employer, then you obviously you want to find out whether or not this employer is lawful and registered. In order to the very generic way to check it is go to ABN Lookup. You can Google this and then basically punch in the company name or the Australian business number there, and then you can find out whether this company is currently trading or not. But generally, if they are listed on Seek.com, they are they should be a lawful company there to be traded there. But I want to just tell you this. I don't see too much of success cases where potential skilled migrant going to Seek.com and click on whatever the job that is, and then went through interview, successfully gain a visa through Seek.com. See this how do I say this? The employer's aspect. If they get a resume or CV from Seek.com, they expect these people already either they are permanent residents or they have the right visa to remain in Australia and work. They don't generally wanted to enter into an agreement to actually sponsor you because sponsoring require additional work, time, and money involved in there. So I found from our experience that people going through Seek.com, the success rate, or whichever the similar job seeking website, Indeed, or whichever the website that is, the success rate of getting a visa through a job seeking website is actually very, very hard and very, very limited. Okay, so how can you get a better success rate on getting an employer sponsor visa? I think the only way is you gotta be you gotta be there, you gotta be local, you gotta be in Australia. So whether you hold a student visa or you hold whatever the visa, graduate visa, and you technically walked in and put in your resume, and you be interviewed face to face, or perhaps you already work there, you already have the work experience. And that is why an international graduate have a much higher rate getting employer sponsor than anyone who is offshore, not in Australia. Well, you got to think about this in the aspect of how the general employer's thinking is. Now, this employer can be in any other country. The employer, the boss, always like to see, and they want to try. They don't know you. They wanted to give you a try and see if you can actually take the job. If you can take the job, no problem for the boss to actually sponsor you, isn't it? But if you're overseas, not in Australia, potentially going through Seek.com or Indeed.com and find a job and start talking to the HR or the boss in regards to potentially getting visa, the chances is very slim. Anyways, if you have more question or query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below. And I'll see you next video. Goodbye.